come to an event like this, you know that jazz is alive and well. But we have to grow the audience for jazz. That is the biggest challenge for all of us, is to grow the audience for jazz so that these musicians who are applicable and who wish to play this music for a living will have a platform to play this music. I mean, don't just stand there and figure you can just play proficiently and that's all the audience came for. The audience needs some level of interaction.
I want to empower everyone, or at least give you inspiration to empower you, that the answer is yes. I say it on the sheet. If it's legal, the answer is yes. And I think sometimes we get a little hung up or worried. Wow, should we try this? Maybe not. Should we try this? Maybe not. I do think we have to admit that sometimes the concerts can be boring and they fall into a routine. And if the audience knows what's going to happen next, this music is a music of the unexpected. When I was in Cecil McBee's band, he used to call rehearsals preparation for the unexpected. I love that. We're just getting ready to see what the hell is going to happen. One of the things that I'd like to talk about first is taking away what I call the moat. The moat, to me, is that space between the bandstand or the concert hall stage and that first row of people. How do we take away that moat? How do we have the people be included? How do we welcome them into what we're doing? To me, this music, the key of this music on the bandstand, which we're going to talk about elements of that too as far as musicianship. And if you have questions or comments along the way, please. I'm improvising anyway. But offering and receiving, to me, is the key to this music. And then often in education, we're dealing a lot with what students offer. Work on this, offer this to the sound of the band. But receiving is just as important. I read a really great book recently called The Power of Receiving. Going through a heavy time in my life because of health problems with my wife. And I learned to accept people's help. It's okay to receive. So I read this book and I said, wow, this is really what this music is about. We offer, someone receives. So we want to do that on the bandstand, and we want to do that with our audience. So present, include, entertain. I think present and include kind of ties that in together. Offering and receiving on the bandstand means we present and we include the audience. And to me, there's nothing wrong with entertainment. I'm really fortunate to be in a cooperative group called Trio M, which features Myra Melford on piano and Mark Dresser on the contrabass. Two pioneers to me of improvised music. And we played a festival recently in Wangaratta, Australia. And these older folks came up to us afterwards and said, wow, that was really entertaining. Now, there's a lot of people in this world, of that world of improvised music, that would take that as a diss. And we were like, great, we're glad you loved it. Because we were playing some crazy music, and we welcomed them in, and they were down for it. We didn't play. Myra Melford, I've never heard Myra Melford play a standard. We've only played our own compositions in that particular group. So, in other words, it didn't matter. They didn't have to hear something that they could really hang their head onto or ears onto. They just had to be welcomed, like, wow, it's cool to be here. We're not playing down to them. We welcome them in. I don't think it has to do with ability either, because sometimes I can hear some concerts by young folks who really aren't advanced or whatever, and I feel so much more than people that supposedly have it together. So there's that vulnerability. One point, I heard it already today. I heard the USC band. Anybody hear the USC big band? Very nice. Bob Mitzer, great band. There was one moment for me where the concert turned. There's a young man here, maybe, plays drums. It was great. He was blowing over the Wayne Shorter tune on the vamp. Kind of lost it for a second. The look on his face was like, wow. And then from that point on, we were with him because the safety zone was away. We're like, wow, we're vulnerable with you. We feel you, man. And then he just took it to another level. And from that point on, the rest of that concert, he took it to another level because he let us in. If it was just like this the whole time, safe, how are we going to get let in? So sometimes really kind of going for it like that is key. Community and relationships. This is all relationships. Technology, surveys, whatever. It's cool. We have to have them. But it's all about relationships. relationships are why we get this happening. I met Rufus Reed when I was in college. You know, we created a relationship. He's the maestro, man. So now we played on some records and stuff together. Went to Russia with Lee Konitz, all kinds of fun things. Played a crazy week with Lee Konitz once with Danilo Perez. Remember that, Rufus? Woo! That was crazy. He's awesome. He's a mentor of people. You know, and I was when I was with him at an Aerosolid camp. Is another part of this journey where you learn about not just play this music, but really offer it. So I remember we did Cupbearers by Tom McIntosh. I remember these things. And we learned tunes by ear. And so when we got up there, we could really, man, the feeling that he had, and he played in the group. I learned more about music that week than I did from the time I was studying up until that point till then from him. So that's something too, is seek out mentors and seek out people that you admire and be around them. So basically, I grew up in Knoxville, Illinois. Yay! Yeah, right. It's highly regarded as the avant-garde jazz center of West Central Illinois. And we have corn and soybeans and the free jazz. And while we're waiting for things to, harvest, so we can harvest, we just played free and explored the music. But I was very fortunate. For somewhere along the line, I saw Buddy Rich on the television on the Lucy Show, and you can actually see this episode on YouTube now. And he comes and judges a drum contest that Ricky is in. Has anyone seen this poignant episode? Oh, it's deep. And he accidentally has a bag that he keeps his cymbals in. That Lucy has a bag just like it, and she picks up his bag and brings it home by mistake. And just hilarity ensues, of course. But then along the line, I had a buddy, and he's a doctor now, and he had we started buying records. And he had this record called Rich versus Roach. Anybody know this record? It's on MRC, and it has Buddy on the front and Max on the front, and they're going. I'll do that again from this angle. And Julian Priester's on the record, and Phil Woods is on the record. Gigi Grice did the arrangements. Man, swinging. And I heard Max Roach on that record playing on Sing 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 over the bass. He just sings like crazy over this to Max. So then it was like Max Roach. Everything was Max Roach. I have a son, whose name is Max. So Elvin didn't quite get there, but Roy was close. But Max got in there, and so then I started going out and seeing things. And a very big person that inspired me early on too about enthusiasm and love and beauty in this music was Maestro Louis Bellson. Louis Bellson played with Duke Ellington, man. Duke Ellington played Louis Bellson's compositions. How deep is that? I mean, we just thought this cat could really play the drums, but so he was always so cool. So I had these people on the way, but my buddy and I, one week, this is before the internet machine, we looked in the thing called the newspaper. And we drove 50 miles south and saw Clark Terry in Rock Island, Illinois. We drove 50 miles south and saw Dizzy Gillespie's band. And we drove 150 miles south and saw Oscar Peterson play solo. I was 15 years old. We were out in the middle of nowhere doing this. So sometimes when I get this, there's nothing going on, especially like when I'm in an urban area. I did a residency in Mineola, New York, about 10 years ago, and I said to this kid, "So you studying with anybody?" He goes, "Well, there's really not anybody around here." I said, "Excuse me?" I said, 15 minutes by train is this music lives, Don't give me that excuse. So I saw these people. I saw Dave Brubeck. I saw the Basie band. Again, all these great musicians come through, and my parents would take me. And it became, they didn't know anything about this music, but they became to like it because they dug how it felt to go to these concerts, because it felt cool, and we felt cool for being there. Where you guys going? We're going to the jazz concert. And I didn't have, I heard music, I heard swing really through Roger Miller, King of the Road. That's how, that to me is one of the greatest two fields ever. But next to Paul Chambers on Remember. But other than that, so I became engrossed in this whole thing. And at the same time, I was doing theater shows with my brother. My brother teaches theater at University of St. Louis University, fine town. And now he's in the technical side of it. But we did shows, so I was not afraid to get up in front of people. Imagine that. And so that was always part of it for me, was that I saw these guys, and they seemed like they're having so much. When I saw Dizzy, I couldn't believe how much fun it was. We were driving home the whole way going, man, it was so cool. Ed Cherry playing guitar, Tommy Campbell was playing drums. Probably was Maestro Bob Cranshaw, probably. And man, I don't remember that part, but we just remembered how much fun it was. And I remember getting to meet Mr. Basie after the concert, and we said, thank you, Mr. Basie, or Mr. Count, or whatever we said. And he said, did you fellas like it? We're like, yeah, we really liked it. He goes, good. We're happy that you enjoyed it. We're like, cool. So we reached out, like right there. I met Buddy at one of those concerts too. I walked up to him, he says, I told you I signed on the bus. I didn't hear him say that. So, you know, I had the modern drummer or whatever, and looked like the Scarecrow, you know, in the Oz. No. Had a little puddle there I had to clean up before I went out the bus. I broke him, though. I broke him years later. I did. I got him. He was playing in Hutchinson, Kansas. And I brought him a record cover that said, Buddy Rich Sings. You ever seen this record? It's one of those Dyna Groove records on Mercury Records. And he's standing on the front with like a little suit. Standing like this. He sings, you know, Long, Long Time and all these great songs. And I hand him the record. He's on the bus. I hand him the record. He looks at it and he goes, hey, kid, see this picture? I said, yes, sir. He says, this picture should have never happened. And then he smiled. So my last impression with him was smile. So, you know, he was cool to me. I mean, I only met him 3 or 4 times, but that's cool. Later that time, I went to a percussion symposium. This is maybe one of the turning points, really, of my life, I think, as far as some of this. And I went to this Ludwig Drum Company. God bless them, used to sponsor this thing where they had all their endorsers come and do workshops. And it was a big hang. Carmine Appice was there. You know, it was like when he was with Rod Stewart, so he had black hair with a red streak, and Calvin Klein's. And Alan Dawson was there, another maestro of modern music. And but I went to this class one day. It's by this guy named J.C. Combs. Dr. J.C. Combs. I went to this cat's class. I was like, I want to check this out. You know, I went to like 4-way coordination with Marv Dahlgren, and my eyes were crossed, and I tripped and fell and cracked my head and all kinds. I couldn't quite figure that out. So I went to this Combs guy, and man, he just came in. It was just like a flurry of activity, of engagement, and he was just giving us things that what my buddy Steve Howe and I just saw come in. He coined who I love is small victories. Man, he gave us some things right there that were going to help us sound good right then. So I was like, this is really groovy. I like this cat. Then they had the percussion ensemble there, and they did all this crazy stuff. It was so entertaining. Here's this, you know, I mean, there's paint drying. There's concrete setting up, and there's the percussion ensemble concert. I think not necessarily in that order. As far as, you know, something that really gets the blood boiling. No, I don't mean that. I love those concerts. It takes so long to set them up and take them down. Jeez. When I still go to a college and I see the percussion ensemble rehearsing, I still kind of get the shakes because I remember having to carry all that, set it all up just to go. So, write this name down, J.C. Combs, Dr. J.C. Combs. I did an interview with him for Jazz DIY that is being edited right now, and it'll be up soon, I hope, sometime in February, I hope, of him talking about these things. So first, this is what he didn't take, he was not going to take that for an answer as far as people coming to a concert. You know, he said, these kids work too hard to have 15 people stand out front while they play ionization. We need to do something else. So before the piece was even written, he released to the press that he was going to do a concerto for percussion and professional wrestlers. War Games, it's called. It's written by Walter Mays. Well, it wasn't written by Walter at that point. He hadn't even told Walter that he was going to write the piece. He just let it out to the press that there was going to be this piece for percussion and professional wrestlers. I kid you not. So he did this. And And it was a big success. And I've played on Ed Soap, and I mean, we've all played on it at different times. And it's true. There's a big wrestling mat. There's steel beam with a jackhammer. There's all kinds of crazy stuff on it. And the wrestlers wrestled, and we did this piece. It was a ballet. So he got wrestling fans sitting next to classical music fans. Cats and dogs living together, folks. So he got people there. People wanted to sue the university because they could not get into the concert. This is a percussion ensemble concert, man. We weren't talking about David Lee Roth or Beyonce. We're talking about a percussion ensemble concert. So the answer is yes. Man, if you want to do something like this, so he did a piece with pinball machines, he did pieces with cloggers, he did pieces all around the city. So I'm in touch with him all the time. He would bring in Rufus, he would bring in Steve Houghton, he would bring in all these great people. He was a great teacher because he wasn't allowed to bring in somebody who didn't necessarily say or do what he did. Cool, right? That to me is a sign of somebody, especially at the collegiate level. You bring somebody in that has a totally different approach, man, you're getting a valuable education. And we did. So it became kind of a thing there how we could outdo each other with it because I wasn't a jazz major. Oh, sorry. No, I don't mean that. I don't mean that in other ways. We were just playing all the time. And in 1984, I got a National Endowment Grant to study with Ed Sof. And that's the summer I met Rufus Reed. That's the first time I saw Elvin Jones play at the Village Vanguard. First time at the Village Vanguard. Went down those stairs. There was the very first building I even went into in New York. My friends dropped me off right in front of the building. I walked right down the stairs. Elvin Jones, Frank Foster, Pat LaBarbera, Chip Jackson, Japanese pianist, I can't recall. There's a live record from the date. After the set, Elvin Jones shook everyone's hand in the whole place. Thanks for coming. Thanks for coming. Thanks for coming. I was like, now that's cool. This year, I got to do that. I played the Village Vanguard as a leader for the very first time. And after that first set, I shook everybody's hand in that whole place. Matter of fact, I gave him money. I gave him pie. No, but I wanted to create that relationship, and I think that's really, I did that anyway. But I mean, just an homage to Elvin. Now, I played there before, but to stand in front of that place, talk about no moat, and look out and those, see folks there, and you're like, the spirit of that room. Pretty cool. So this just continued. I moved to Boston. My wife did her master's at New England Conservatory. Ken Schaffhorst is giving a speech next. Talk at New England Conservatory. If you go to school there's a bank of windows on the Huntington Avenue side. Those two banks of windows, we paid for those. Tough crowd. Tuition. We gave them money. They bought. Okay, it's time for pie. Anyway, so this continued. And so I got to Boston, and I joined a group eventually called the Either Orchestra. And I consider them to be often neglected, one of the more influential groups of the late 80s and 90s, because we were really devoted to bringing the music to the people. And it spawned such, if it wasn't for the Either Orchestra, there would be no Medeski, Martin, and Wood, because John was in that group. That's one of the reasons how I got in that group, is John recommended me. So, all that came from those guys. We would do wedding gigs and stuff so we could go out and tour, bring it to the people. And we played an IAJE once, or it was the NAJE then, in Washington, D.C. I was thinking about this when I was watching the USC band play today. And we played with no music. 10-piece band. Played with no music. And we were definitely the weirdos. I mean, Russ Gershon's about 8'10" and has really long hair and a gentle and beautiful soul. And we were characters, but we played together a lot. So we could do this stuff without music. Right after our set, Maestro Bob Brookmeyer came up and said, "I want to talk to you fellows right now." He took us to the back. He said, "This is the first thing that I've heard here that didn't make me want to burn down the building." That was, I think, pretty good endorsement. You know, and when I got to do some other projects with him later and record with him on somebody else's record, it was really fun. We laughed about that, but he was like, "Yeah, I remember that. It was great." So in other words, never be afraid to take these chances to really put it out there. I mean, again, the answer is yes. Present, include, entertain. Now I've been around some great people as of recent that have really inspired me as far as how they handle themselves, how they present music. Joe Lovano. Man, I mean, he puts the set together. It's such a beautiful journey that he brings in a listener like nobody's business. And when I've been playing, and like same way when I was Buster Williams' band, Rufus and I did some other things. I think Jason Moran is doing some amazing things with this, you know, trying some different things, like because they said yes. And you don't have to be in New York, people. Please, please. Man, everybody is capable of doing this wherever you are. Put the band together. Get it out there. Work it. It does not have to be in New York. We don't need it there. We need it everywhere else. We don't need no more jazz centers in big towns. I'm saying it right now. We need them. We need a lot of them all over the map so that we can drive and bring it to the people like the old days. Relationships. Now you play a university concert every 4 or 5 years. You know, you don't remember those people, but when you get to go to town a few times and have dinner with people and know them, relationships, trust. Then trust is created. Then legacy is created. Why is the Village Vanguard so cool? There's a legacy. There's a legacy of that place. Why is We Always Swing Jazz Series in Columbia, Missouri, I think maybe the best jazz per capita in the United States? John Poses. Per capita. These people get legacy. Now, man, people just expect, wow, it's going to be this great music. And they get to see it in places, a lot of times, without the moat. So you can go to Murray's and see Kenny Barron right up close, or the Bad Plus right up close. You're not seeing them from the moat. Okay? Let's talk about it from the musician standpoint. Nobody's going to jive, that's for sure, right? I mean, people that really deliver really play. And they have something unique. They're characters. Tim Hagen's, my good buddy, likes to use that term. Characters. I like characters. I heard a young man just recently upstairs. Georgia State band, tenor saxophone player. Is he here? Whew. He's in my mental Rolodex. I hear it, you know. I want people up there that get in the sandbox, as we say. Proper, cool. Nobody asks you where you went to school. Nobody cares how you learned it. We just want it to feel good. So what you offer within the bandstand first is really key. I played a nursing home concert. I do these outreach concerts for Jazz at Lincoln Center. Nice folks. And we played one at an Alzheimer's kind of place in Staten Island. And I use kind of cats from the city in that region, you know, to go play the concert. So I use Brooklyn cats. They, you know, I could get them out of Brooklyn for an afternoon, I guess, and they went over. And at one point, we were playing, and Chris Lightcap was playing bass. He's playing, soloing. And he had his eyes shut. This old lady goes, "I'm leaving. Hell, if he's falling asleep, I'm falling asleep too." No, that's cool. I mean, but we just loved it. We loved it. And these two ladies sat right next to the drums. They're like, "This is going to be." I said, "Baby, you got the best seat in the house. There's not going to be any problem. You're going to be cool. It's all going to be cool." One time we were playing a concert at a library in Long Island with Charlie Colhay's quintet. And we're packing up and we hear these two older ladies leaving. I love this. This is really kind of what it's all about for me. One lady goes, "I really enjoyed that." Kind of a Jim Gaffigan voice, right? And the other lady goes, "I hated it." Hey, you know, at least they felt something, right? It's like the story of the guy that, you know, his coworker keeps coming over to him and says, "You know that art show you took to me too? I hated that art. I hated that art." He goes, "Well, sorry." Comes over later in the afternoon. "Man, that art show you took me to, man, I hated that. I really, really didn't like it very much at all." Fine. Next day, having coffee. "Man, that art show. guy goes, finally, man, for not liking it, you're still you're thinking about it a lot anyway, right? So wow, at least that lady walked away going, well, she thought about it. Wasn't just great, nice. Nothing should be nice. I mean, nice people, but I want to hear something, man. You know, if something's gonna swing, it's gonna swing. If something's gonna be freaky, let it get freaky. You know, let's do something. So on the bandstand, our responsibilities are a lot for just to get the music put together to be put out there. One of the first things that I think most people love this music because of rhythm. I mean, we hear them, wow, the swing rhythm. One of the greatest inventions. The ride cymbal. Come on. Steve Fiddick, right? The ride cymbal is one of the greatest instruments ever. I think so, anyway. So how we offer that time feel. So rhythm, the sonic dimensions, articulation, how we speak that rhythm, the vowels and consonances of that rhythm. So rhythm is a big part of it, and sometimes the most often neglected of people's journeys. They're working on the notes aspects all the time, and the ability of like really having rhythm sing and say something, you know, sound and silence. Whew, it's not always there. So I think if we work on that, but I think as for our responsibility as musicians, I think if we hear what we play, feel what we play, and love what we play, it'll be cool. I don't mean love like, check me out, man. I don't mean to pick on tenor saxophone players. I'll pick on soprano players. But hear what you play. Love, I mean, like if you're offering something, you wanna be like confident about it. It's like when you go to a restaurant. I went to a great restaurant last night. Highly recommend it, called Wisteria. Kale, squash salad. Oh man, really, I'm gonna go back. And man, they were so proud of their food. When the guy brought it out, he was just like, and I was like, back. That's what I want to be. That's my whole rap about being the allower. Like, I want to allow people to have that experience. So again, hear, feel, love. I think that's really, really key. And then playing with people is really, I mean, how we play with people is really monumental. And somebody asked me what I look for in musicians, and it's simple: presence. Don't give me presence. That's nice too. But I mean presence on the bandstand. People that I can feel them there. Terrell Stafford, when he's not playing, he stands right by me. I love that. Whew. He never leaves the bandstand. When did this start? You know, I mean, I don't know. I love jazz and I hate jazz. That's one thing. I don't like people leaving the bandstand. That's just my little pet peeve. But man, when you go, man, you know, when you see the Rolling Stones, Ron Wood's not standing out the corner going, waiting to come back in. Right? Be involved, you know? Come up with play some background, do some blips and blaps in the words of Dennis Irwin. Do something. Or just be present, be there, when I did a concert with Caleb Chapman's, you guys know Caleb Chapman? He's here. He's got a group here a couple years ago. I played with him. Terrell and I were guests in New Orleans. They wore suits. They played with so much enthusiasm. Jazz, Terrell Stafford, Matt Wilson, jazz field trip. See the world. Only $4,000. Sign up now. But that kind of enthusiasm is what I love, man. I mean, I love people that put it out there. Okay? So from the bandstand, I think we can do a lot more too from that. And it doesn't have to, I mean, you don't have to fake anything. You know, I don't think, you know, I saw Billy Higgins and that touched me, and I saw Louis Bellson. So that to me is how I relate to this music. We all imitate, we all emulate. That's who I wanted to imitate. I thought, wow, Billy Higgins is cool. I want to be up there. So that's just been my approach. And accepting all kinds of music too keeps me really excited. So I don't think categories. Duke Ellington, man. You can go on YouTube right now and watch any Duke Ellington concert and get so damn excited that I watched one yesterday of a sacred concert with Tap Dancer. Have you seen this? And Duke gives this introduction where he just puts together these stream of words. It's just unbelievable. And he's so hilarious. but not really. I mean, he's really getting the point across. So we don't have to, again, I do dog and pony shows. I'm not afraid to wear a wig, and I'm not afraid to light things on fire. No, I don't light things on fire, but I like presenting concerts that are events, And so from the bandstand point of view, we can never take away the music. But if you yourself, Andrew D'Angelo, great alto saxophone player, used to say this to students when we went to clinic them. He would say, "Would you pay to hear this?" Wow. We want people to come and hear us. We want audiences there. But would we be sitting there going, "Oh boy, bass solo, then they trade again with the drums. Must be time for the melody again." Or everybody plays in the same order, or everybody plays on all the songs, or there's no segues, or there's no sections where there's no time, or there's, man, we can go on and on. I gave you possibilities right here. I did these in about 5 minutes. If I presented a big band at this place, at this particular conference, nothing against sound people, nothing against, no electricity. Make people move up and hear you. Lee Konitz is notorious for not using microphones. Dennis Irwin and I and him did a trio concert at the University of New Hampshire one time. And this kid came up to us and said, "Wow, this was really great. We actually had to listen." Of course, Lee loved that. So trying different things all the time. That's the only, come on. That's why I scheme constantly. I call my buddy Jeff Letter, he's my right-hand man, on every Monday. I have about 3 cups of coffee after I get the kids to school. And I have a lot of kids, so getting them to school. No, 3 go to the same school, so that's easy. They're in the same grade. Donations to the Matt Wilson Children's College Fund will be accepted on your way out. Please fill... No. So, and I'm always throwing something back. So Willard, a couple years ago, gave me a great opportunity to curate a series at the Tribeca Art Theater, Manhattan Community College, and it was music of 52nd Street. So I thought, oh man, this is going to be really fun. So man, it was just a opportunity to go like, wow, I want to try this. So I did a concert of Monk's music called Multi-Monk with Scott Robinson playing everything under the sun, and Frank Kimbrough and the great Ray Drummond. And then I put together a band called Topsy Turvy, and it was basically based off of Cozy Cole's tune Topsy. Everybody thinks 52nd Street was all bebop. Actually, very little bebop historically until later, but a lot of larger group stuff. So we did some John Kirby, we did some Tiny Grimes, we did all this kind of music. So it was basically my quartet, which is Jeff Letter on saxophone and Kurt Konefke on cornet and Chris Lightcap with a really interesting cast of characters. Curtis Folks on trombone, Vijay Iyer on piano, Mary Halverson on guitar, and Tia Fuller on alto saxophone. Now, this is people walking into rehearsal, I should have filmed the rehearsal because it was so great. But man, the feeling was just so great to put together these kinds of people. The last concert was really, really special because it was arts and crafts, and I used Candido Camaro, the Maestro Congalero. He's awesome. He's 91 years old. And he came in and just played great. And we did these Cuban folk songs that he knew from his childhood, and he sang them. And then he did his whole, it was great, right? Candido. So if I wouldn't have, I called him. I just called him. I said, we would love to have you, sir. Would you like to do this? And put me in touch with his daughter, and I talked to her, and I got him on this Jazz Lincoln Center record that I produced and for families. And so he's my buddy now. But if I didn't go after it, he probably doesn't want to do that. I would have never known. Just like asking Bill recently or asking Marshall, to play with the Christmas trio. So the concerts really aren't boring. I mean, I'm just saying that we can, one of the things is get away with programs a little bit. Give the students a microphone and have them get up and talk about the piece a little bit. I feel like they know the song, but they don't know about the song at all. I don't know. It's a chart. Wow, have them recite the words. Have them do something. Wow, what can we do to have? And there's so many. We're told this now in our lives, and it's a pretty cool thing. Collaborate. So you do all these crazy things, all these different outside mediums. But I think the greatest thing that you can do is use local people that are cool. Because then people start to embrace that. So like I said on there, if you have a local blues guitar player or a singer, man, have them come and play with your band. They'll be like, wow, I've never done anything at the university. You know? Right? Wow, community. So you're not blocked out. Do concerts around. One of the challenges I did was do 5 concerts around town in 5 days. I don't know. It's crazy enough. It just might work. I mean, why not? Why not? So, present, include, entertain. Let's talk about that word entertain again real quickly. If you look at the definition there, did a lot of research. To hold attention by amusing and diverting, to show hospitality to guests. Wow. So we're actually being kinder when we entertain. To keep in one's mind. So when that lady left and said she hated it, we kept her in her mind for a little bit. We entertained her. Maybe not in a positive way. We in the Christmas trio, we do a kind of a raucous version of a Hallelujah chorus. You have to be 18 and older to get in to hear it. No, we don't. No, it's very reverent. But a lady just didn't like it, and I said, "Well, I'm sorry. Sorry you feel that way, but we won't change it. You know, we're just going to do what we do." So, I mean, again, I don't think it was all that offensive, but we went for it. And we might have went for it that day, which is the Twyla Tharp quote on there also. Sometimes you have to go too far to find out how far too far is. Right? You don't know, you don't know. I mean, but better to find out than sleep, you know? And the other thing is I like to have fun with this as much as possible. So if it's not fun, if the concert, man, I think of every one of these as events, man. Like everything coming up, I have events, man. Not concerts, not gigs. It's an event. I can't wait to walk out there, do this, you know, play this music that we love. That's why we're here, because somewhere along the line it sounded in us. Cecil Taylor's quote: "We don't play this music to expose people. We see if it's going to sound in them." Wow. So when we were in Kansas, we used to drive around and go, somebody out there in that combine is listening to Albert Ayler. I hope. I'm sure there was somebody. So I told this one time at a workshop, and a guy goes, well, it wasn't Albert Ayler, but I used to put those headphones on and plow for my dad and listen to Live Evil by Miles Davis. Now, the corn was kind of like this. I don't play anywhere any differently in any place. That's why I love going to playing in smaller towns across the United States, especially U.S. Europe too. I mean, I love it everywhere. Where's the best place to play? Where you're playing. Man, any place that people show up. In the words of Charlie Cole Hayes, Buster Williams, my good buddy, loves this one. Charlie Cole Hayes used to say, "We play the same whether we play for 5 or 9." Which in Boston was pretty good. 5 or 9. Dig that. Sometimes though, right? Sometimes you have those 5, 9 people there that really care, and you can have a whole room full of people and you don't feel one thing back. So the moat. One of the things I think that students don't get the chance to see people's eyes. Right? They're always playing in concert halls for the most of their career. They never have anybody sitting right next to them checking them out. Want some pie? I guess it's pretty exciting up here. Get that on video. Is that a hard night? He's really taking it in. No, so maybe have a concert where you set the band up in a different part of the hall or no hall, and have people sit really close like it's a club so they can really be part of the band. I remember when I was in college, we played the Jazz House once in Lawrence, Kansas. And it was a real turnaround for the band because, wow, we weren't playing in this dumb concert hall anymore. We were a band. We were like, wow, hey, cats, let's get up there. You know, we were sitting up there on a bandstand all crowded together, and it wasn't like the sound guys going around, you know, messing with everything. We just had to play. So take them out of the comfort zones, and new bonds will start to happen. Not even that comfort zone. I don't think it's all that comfortable. Lights. Turn up the lights if you're in your hall, sometimes at least, so they're not just coming out and looking at like a blank statement, you know? Like, you walk out in some of these halls, and you're like, you would know you were playing for. It was like Patti LaBelle at the North Sea Jazz Festival one time. She was coming out, and she went, loved this concert. It was really great. A bunch of us in Charlie Hayden's Liberation Music Orchestra went to see her. And she walked out and she started going, hello, Paris! How's everybody doing today? Speaking in French and everything. They're like, North Sea, how are you doing? You know, she didn't know. It was cool. It was a great concert. She didn't have to know where she was, I guess. But I like knowing. I think that to me the whole thing is like improvising the whole night. So you know, what happens that day? What happens? What you find backstage? What you know, and what also just how things can influence the music. If you read the Aaron Copland quote there, he says that very much, right? Outside sources, public influence of how you're playing. I love that quote. There's another one he talks about they're being taken. That the performance can get out of hand. So that's what I'm saying, wow, when do you go to some place where it doesn't, I never really feel it get out of hand. Like the young man today, that vulnerability welcomed me in. I'm a fan of the USC band from that point on because of a mistake. Not really a mistake. It was a new opportunity, in the words of Stefan Harris. Wow. Then I felt it. Wow. It wasn't a machine. It was a human thing. Boom. Oh, whoa, this, that. Watch John Clayton conduct. Watch Rufus Reed play the bass. Man, all this stuff brings you in. I had a student who's very, very talented at Sarah Lawrence, a very talented saxophone player. And every once in a while I have to stop and just say, while we're rehearsing the ensemble, I'm playing in the ensemble. Don't have any drummers up there. It's the most expensive school in the nation, so it's a little hard for me to recruit. You know, you could have a great apartment in New York and pay me really good money just to study privately for what you could go to school. No, but it's a great school, I'm not saying that. But I'll say to him every once in a while, I'll just say, hey man, let us in. Let us in. Let us into your plane. So if we're not letting in there, then how we're going to be let in? How's the audience going to be let in? But to me, there's something about that. I saw a gig, speaking of Rufus, this makes me a moment. I saw a gig at Zeno's one time. And Zeno's was a really cool place because I love New York places for a lot of times. And it's less and less now because everything has to be set up like 8 months in advance. And you have to have this and you have to have that and you have to have Facebook presence and it's all cool. But the casual places are cats that just play. So I saw Rufus and Kenny Warner play duo at Zeno's. Man, it was awesome. Remember that night? Yeah. I mean, just where cats are just sitting there and we're right there. People are eating, people, man, just taking this in. Like, unless, you know, well, they're the performer. You're the jazz musician. Bow down. You are creative. Ugh. No, we're just people too, you know? The cat that fixes your car, or the cat that makes that dish I had last night. I'm still trying to figure out how they did this sweet cornbread pudding, but otherwise, I'll get it figured out. That to me, that's another, so if we start to appreciate all the other artistries around, then wow, then we'll start to welcome them in too. I always ask people what they do. What do you do? What do you do? One time I had a guy go, in Toronto, he goes, I work on high-end race cars. I said, really? He goes, you ever gone 180 miles an hour? I'm like, no. He says, next time you're in town, we'll rent a track. We'll go. I'll take a Ferrari out. We'll go 180 miles an hour. I haven't called him. But all the time I'm meeting people that are so cool. Check this out. Last summer, teaching at Stanford Jazz Workshop. Anybody ever been to the Stanford Jazz Workshop or taught there? Or been there? It's great, right? The Soho, the Coho, the coffee house. The faculty, people, junior faculty, I hate that word too. They're faculty. They play at night in a jam session. It's a really great feeling. And we're sitting there, man. Me and Martin Wind are sitting there. The bandstand's right here. And we're sitting at a table facing the bandstand, having a beverage after a hard-earned day of spreading the jazz love. And we see this guy, and he's got 2 laptops. And he's got this keyboard on his lap and this sheet of stuff. You know, these formulas. Just filled. Formulas. These guys are playing I Remember April. We watch it. So after the tune is over, I said, you know, I can't help it, but I'm just peeking over there, and I see this sheet that you have. Man, this is amazing. I mean, look at the formula and what you do. He goes, no. He goes, that's amazing. right? So here's this guy who's probably going to be the next Nobel dude, and he's like, whatever. And man, he was there the next night, and he was there the next night. He's sitting there working. I'd see him like, hey, how you doing, man? Cool, working on it. Wow. So if he's into it, so find it who it sounds in. You know, I love that Louis Armstrong quote. I just found that one. I didn't know that one. There are some people, if they don't know, you can't tell them. So, you know, just move on. You know, I mean, but I find that the relationship thing for me has been key. And in traveling and stuff like that, you know, that's why I love doing this stuff. I mean, that's why I love the outreach. Sometimes I've been inspired by many, many people to do this stuff and to go out and speak about the music and be there. But for me, it's just, man, so that, wow, I know some people that do some groovy things too. And they'll come and go, wow. In a perfect world, it'd be like, hey, Jim, man, thanks for, man, I don't know how you figured out what was wrong with the car. Well, I don't know. But, and man, that groove you guys had happening last night on that Sun Ra tune, that was cool. Right? That'd be a perfect world. You got your car fixed, that guy comes the next night, checks you out. I mean, that to me, so that's what we have to do. And I think the local thing is we're so, again, New York. It's not, man, local. You know, if you have gigs happening where you are, man, the people I really, really respect are the people that have it happening in all these different places. I applaud, man. Chris Kozak in Alabama, you know, Steve Grismore and John Rapson, these cats in Iowa City, you know. Cats up in Wisconsin have some cool scenes. Florida, Wichita. It's not just a great place just to watch TV anymore. That's what we need. Because then when we come to town, it's like, oh, it's cool. There's a relationship. And I want to, so Dave Douglas and I just had lunch. We're talking about that, doing that more, going out and just playing like with musicians in all these regions that we really, really love and we want to be involved with too. It's like when the old days, man, cats would go around and play with house rhythm sections and they created relationships. I think that's a cool thing. Wow, I can go on and on. So we have pie. So you can come up and have some pie. We have 5 minutes for questions, but let me just reiterate a couple points. Welcome the sound of surprise. Surprise people. That's what this is, man. They're like, I don't want to know. Man, surprise them. Something. Do something. Create relationships, create trust, create community, create legacy. Take away the moat. I was going to have heralding trumpets here today. Every time I said moat, have them go. I hereby decree, take away the moat. No, let's take away that. Let's get people up on maybe get them up on the bandstand with us even. The answer is yes. We can do this. We can read the statistics and cry and blah, blah, blah. Actually, I think it's pretty damn healthy. I think it's really healthy. In the travels that I've been going, man, the internet machine has really helped us because people can get recordings, people can know about us, and people know our schedules, and people, you know, so when we go to someplace, wow, we further the relationship with human moments, that seals the deal. Virtual concerts, I don't know. I don't like to sit in front of a computer and watch somebody play. I want to see them stand out, see how they come in, what they're wearing, how they talk to the cats, you know, what they maybe had to eat. Roy Haynes lives in my neighborhood. When I went to the grocery store, sometimes he's there. I check out what Roy Haynes gets.
What does he get?
Grapefruit juice, soy milk. What else did he have one day? When he leaves that grocery store, I've done this twice. I've said to the checkout people, I said, see, folks, I did this once. I did it once, really big. I said, folks, I'd like to make a little announcement. I'd like to announce that the world's greatest drummer, that's the world's greatest drummer, right, that just left this building. And one guy goes, you know, we knew he was something. And I said, oh, he's something. So man, I go to this little wine store, wow, we haven't seen Mr. Haynes for a few days, or, you know, for a while, or not a few days, don't make it sound like he's there all the time. But I go over there and visit, you know, and talk and learn and do that too, like, There's nothing still, once your teacher, always your teacher, or once your mentor, always your mentor. So to me, these people are always in my heart. Always people that I've listened and will continue to listen if you anymore, are always in my heart as those kinds of people. So I revere them, and I always, I keep in touch. Keeping in touch is really good too. I call Jeff Hamilton all the time. I leave him really nasty messages. Tell him how much of a fool he is. But I've created some great new ones. I think I went this morning just to watch John Clayton teach. It doesn't get much better than that. I heard him work with his band. Wow, I just sat there and learned so much. So if you stop learning, in closing, I saw this recently, and I want to close on a high note, but this was something that sort of bugged me. I read some young person's biography, and they said they mastered the art of improvising while they were a student at this particular university. I was like, really? Wow, maybe Jimmy Heath should give them a call. And these guys are always learning, always checking stuff out. That's why I love the energy of being around these eternal children, as my wife calls them. Beconus, eternal child. Jimmy Heath, Tootie Heath, eternal children. Buster Williams, eternal child. Rufus Reed, always trying new things. Man, the music he writes. Wow, it's great. So please, what may look like on paper is like, man, this dude's out. It's gonna come in and it's not dark at all. We have to go out and we have to take that extra step because people attention is like all kinds of different places. So if we can get them in the room, they're gonna like it. I guarantee. They're gonna dig it. Give them something to love. Right? Thank you so much.